All right. Hi, it's T with TeaQuilts, and I'm live, and I'm just waiting until 7 p.m. We have another 5 minutes, but I just wanted to make sure that I give everyone time to get in the live chat. So I'm just waiting until 7 p.m. We're going to start at 7, so I'm just getting in here early to make sure everything is working correctly this week. So hi, everybody. I'm just waiting until 7 so we can start at the same time since I'm actually doing a presentation this week and will not be able to repeat everything. I just came in early so that I could make sure all of my technology was working here today. See, we got more viewers coming in. I'm just waiting until 7. We still have 3.5 minutes before we can start. I don't know if anyone has ever looked around your sewing area, and I looked on the floor today under my sewing desk and I found 2 screws just laying up under the desk, and I don't know where they come from. Has that ever happened to anyone? This just drives me nuts. This happens to me quite a bit, and I don't know if they come from the machine, from the desk. I have no idea. So now I got to play Inspector Crusoe. We're just waiting until 7 p.m. to start, just in case somebody comes in late, since I'm actually doing more of a presentation today. So we have a little over 2 minutes. Can you let me know who's in the chat group? Can someone post in the group chat just to let me know if it's working correctly?
Happy holidays from Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
Looks like we got less than a minute. Can someone post something in the text box just so that I know everything is working correctly? So it's 7 p.m. I'm going to hope that everything is working well. Let me maximize my screen here. And can we just do a roll call to see who's watching the video? I see I have at least, I'm in the 30s. I got 20 something people watching now. If someone could just let me know that everything is working correctly, and then we can get started. Okay, nothing's in the chat box yet. And I know that I'm on a delay, so
I'm Maria, and I have lost 95 pounds with the help of the Royal 21 Queen by Health Action.
okay. So I think I got all of my devices ready to go. And I'm hoping that we're live and then we're all in the same chat room. But today we're going to talk about Freemotion machine quilting on our actual domestic machines. Now, I talked about last week that I was going to actually use my Singer machine, but then today I thought maybe I'll go ahead and use the Baby Lock so that I could learn how to do it. And then I was cleaning the machine and I dropped one of my screws that go into my plate, and I can't find it on my speckled rug. So I will handle that later. So what I did was just went ahead and got my Singer that I normally do machine quilting on anyway. So one of the first things about machine quilting is, of course, you got to have something that you're machine quilting, so you have your top. And then you need batting. And it just depends on the size of the product as to what type of batting I will use. If I am trying to machine quilt a small piece like a tabletop, then I will go ahead and use any type of batting that I want. Most of the time I'm doing anything for tabletops, I'm using 100% cotton batting, or I'm using one of those iron-on fleece fabrics because I want something that's going to stay completely flat. Another thing is when I'm doing the big quilts, that's when I might start changing my batting options, as far as I definitely don't want to use any of the thicker polyester bats. Because if you're trying to roll a big bed-sized quilt into here, and polyester bats are fluffy, and so they keep pushing out, and so you're not going to be able to have a lot of that up under here. So I would stick with a 100% cotton batting because it's a thinner bat. So once you have your top and you select what type of batting, then you also need to have your backing. Your backing and your batting should be at least 4 inches larger all the way around. And then one of the things you want to do is you want to baste your quilt top. So I just have a small one here that I'm working with today. I just drew some registration lines. I'm not even sure if it's going to show up for you, but just like if it was a pieced quilt top. So I've got like some blocks and a border just to give you an idea. And what I do when I was doing a lot of quilts on my domestic machine is I would pin base, and there are other methods of basting, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But when I pin base, I start in the middle of my quilt somewhere, and then I lay down my 4 fingers. And every between these 4 fingers should be a pin, and that would also apply when I'm going in the opposite direction as well. So I always want a pin with that much space and not try to get any larger than that, so that if I'm quilting, I'm not going to adjust my back and batting once I have done that. Now, if you're basting small quilts, I will just use a tabletop. And I know some people do base their full quilts on a tabletop because they don't have enough floor space. But if I have enough floor space, I like to just go ahead and base the entire thing on the floor. If I'm going to base on the floor, I like to use knee pads. You can just get some very inexpensive knee pads from your hardware store, and then that protects my knees so that as I'm moving around on the floor, I won't have pain in my knees. And it's a very good cushion on those. And then some other things that you can use to baste your quilt with is you can use the pink original basting spray, but we also have basting spray that we use in machine embroidery. This is a 505 fix, and it's the Sulky 2000. Those are a little bit more expensive if you're going to base a big quilt. And then just from the regular hardware store, you can always get just all-purpose spray adhesive, and it's a lot cheaper than buying anything in the quilt market. I find that things that are geared towards quilters are always just overpriced. So you can just go to your local hardware store, buy any type of spray adhesive if you want to do this. I don't like using spray adhesive at home. I did use this a lot when I was at work because we had the big, large conference rooms. We had big areas where I didn't have to worry about the sticky floating too far, like getting on tabletops or getting on other items. I could isolate myself into one part of the room, and then I would clean that area when I was done. So just be careful spraying this inside your house because you may get adhesive in places that you don't want adhesive. So some other things I like to use when I'm machine quilting, there's a thing that's called the slider that you can put on your machine if you need it to make it so that your surface is slicker. Because I haven't used that in a long time, I have no idea where that is. I could have given it away. So I have no idea, but that is something that you can use if you feel like you're having a lot of friction. I don't tend to have a whole lot of friction up here, especially when just working with 100% cotton fabric, so I don't need that. Some other things you might need to relieve some hand fatigue is you might want to get some gloves, and I've talked about these in our last video a little bit, and my gloves are very well worn because I use them well, and I just didn't purchase any more. They have little things on the fingertips to help you grip, and I am just about out of the gripping because I have well used these gloves both sides. And I like the fact that you can put the glove on either hand. There is no necessarily left or right hand. Sometimes they do get a little hot. There's another type of glove in the market that's a little thicker and they're hotter, and I found these to not be as hot as the other ones. And then if you just want to save your coin, you can always go to the garden shop and just get garden gloves. But again, these are just a little bit thicker than the machingers, and so they will be just a little bit hotter. But if you're comparing it to the other brand of quilting glove out on the market, then this is very sufficient at a very reasonable price. Some other things, I used these just a few times before I started quilting. You actually put these around your 4 fingers, and then these are made by the Steady Betty company, and then you can use these to rotate, and you have your fingers actually are still out. So that is something that I did keep. And there are other things on the market. There's like the quilt halo. I got rid of that. It's a red circle that you can use and you put up under, and you can use it to move your quilt. You don't have to use any gloves with that. And I still have the Fabulous Fabric Guides. I actually got this as a gift. I never used it because as soon as I got it, I realized that I was going to get a long arm within a year. And so I quit doing machine quilting. But this is what it looks like. I don't even think I've opened the bag. So I can't tell you how this works or not, but what I do like about it is that it gives you two different sizes. So you have a smaller one and then a larger one. And then on the back, they have little grips that you can use to grip your project. And then you're just moving this around. So it kind of helps with hand fatigue. So just trying to let you know what some of the things that are out there in the market are and how they work. Again, I haven't not used this, so I can't really verify it, but just laying it there, right there, it seemed like it was pretty good. So I'm just going to be moving some things out of my workspace here. So one of the things when you actually get to the actual machine part of machine quilting, number one tip is to clean your machine, because if you've been piecing and working on a lot of projects, you're going to have lint buildup. And when you start machine quilting, because it's free motion, the dogs are down, you got more chance of the lint coming back up. And you don't want to turn your quilt to the back and see a big buildup of lint. So that's just true for any machine quilting, whether it be on domestic machine or your long arm. You should always clean the back. Number two, I have my baby lock book here because my Singer is in the other room. I had to switch this out really fast, but you should have your manual available so you know how to set your machine up for free motion quilting. I've been doing it so long on the Singer that I already know how to do that, but please refer to your manual, because on my Singer, I have one of those weird controls. It tells me to increase my stitch length on this machine, which is very weird because if my feed dogs are down, what difference does the stitch length make? It shouldn't make any difference, but if I don't increase the stitch length, my stitches are very tight. So it does make a big difference on that. Can someone type something in the comment box so that I know I'm in the right place tonight? I was kind of waiting for the backlog, but I don't see anything coming through. And then one other thing, if you are machine quilting, it's nice to go ahead and use your knee lift. And I have just recently started using this a whole lot. I used it once before, but got a little aggravated because it does stick out a little bit from my desk. But as I'm working on this Bonnie Hunter mystery, I'm finding that this is really helpful to have my knee lift on. So on my baby lock, I have a knee lift, but I don't have one for the Singer that I'm actually working on today. Other things, when I'm machine quilting, I just use any of my regular cotton threads or any threads that I use on my long arm machine. But I also like to use bottom line in my bobbin, because bottom line is a thinner thread made for bobbin sewing, and I can get more thread on my bobbin. And so I want to show you some bobbins here, and I don't know how well they're going to show up, but I have a bobbin here that goes to my Elagio, my baby lock Elagio. My Singer bobbin is bigger, and I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but I definitely use thinner threads whenever I'm sewing on my baby lock Elagio. Now my Lissimo, it has a bigger bobbin, so I've already put some bottom line thread on my Singer bobbin, so I can go ahead and put that into my machine. And the last thing is you want to get you need to change your foot for the machine for free motion quilting as well. So on my baby lock, I have this foot, and I like it because it has a wider opening. Most of them were just that little round hole, and this square is a pretty good size. I'd say it's at least a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch opening. I like that very well. On my Singer, they had a plastic free motion foot, and what I did was I cut the front out of this foot so that I could see where my needle was going. So I really like that too. So if you have a plastic foot, that's an option, and it will not mess with the integrity of the stitching. So let me put that on. Okay. So one other thing with machine quilting, you got to know exactly what it is that you are interested in quilting. So what I have done in the past is that I've made myself a little book that was just for machine quilting ideas. Sometimes I would go to quilt shows. Some things I would find online. There was all kind of free tutorials online when I first started. So I just started a little book of machine quilting, and I kept things that I might be interested in quilting. I kept pictures from some of the projects as well. So if you ever get stuck and you need some creative ideas, then you could just come to your idea book. Now with everything being electronic, you don't have to necessarily have it in paper form. I now just have a folder on my computer that I have various quilting ideas in. Okay, so we're now going to go ahead and get started with the machine quilting. And I am just going to use what I was using the last time I machine quilted. I have not done any additional practice. I just wanted to come here fresh, like if I was a newer person to machine quilting. So I didn't want to come in being the expert. So anything that goes wrong, we're going to experience it all together. So now on my sample, I did not do the 4 inches all the way around because it doesn't really matter if it's just a practice piece. But again, if you are basting your quilt top, make sure that you have at least 4 inches all the way around. The next thing, when you're putting this under your machine for quilting, you have to decide, okay, what is it that I'm going to do? Am I going to set in, like if I was going around a quilt block, do I want to stabilize around the quilt block, or am I just doing an all over pattern, or am I doing custom quilting? If I'm doing custom quilting, I may want to set the seams around my quilt blocks or my particular areas because I want to make sure that that is set in place and it won't move. So I don't have any of that to do. I just got areas on here just so I can quilt some different things in them. And we're just going to start out with some simple things, and I'm hoping that you may not be able to see my stitching, but you will be able to see the machine at least go up and down, and then I'll pull it out periodically and show you what's going on. The other thing, I am at a loss as to what's on my pins. I can't remember the actual name of them. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the description when the video goes live. But on my pins, I have this little gadget that I put on the head of the pin. And when I had my pins before in this container, when I would pull them out, they would be all tangled up, and then I would be trying to shake them loose so that I could get to my straight pins. So I actually bought these to put on all of my pins. And then when I put them in this container, they're no longer all tangled together when I go to use them. Also, when I go to press them down, I can actually press on this plastic piece instead of pressing on the pin, so they don't hurt my hand as much either. Okay, so the first thing with machine quilting, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to find, I'm about in the center of my quilt somewhere, and I just want to go to an open space where I don't have a pin. And the first thing you want to do is just hand turn your hand wheel, your flywheel, so that you can get it to bring up the bobbin thread. If you don't bring that bobbin thread up, it's going to be tangled on the back of your quilt. Okay, and I want to make sure that I put my presser foot down as well, because we don't want to sew with the presser foot up. So now I'm using the gloves that have the tip, so I'm just going to basically be using the tip of my hand to move this piece around. First, I'm just going to quilt. I have a black thread on top and a white in the bottom, and so since I'm testing out, I want to make sure that I'm having good tension with speed. The main thing about this part of machine quilting is the speed of your machine must equal the speed of your hand in order for your stitches to be even. So I just want to do some practice here. I'm just going to lock a few stitches in place, and then I'm just going to do some meandering. And I'm just going to take that out so that I can show you what I have. I'm just going to go ahead and break my thread with the machine. And basically, I just want to make sure I have white thread in the bobbin, and then I have black thread on top. Now, when you first start out, you're not going to be accurate with getting your stitch length consistent throughout. That's something that's just going to come with time. My first quilts were horrible, but they were done, and so I just left them in there. It's a learning process, so you'll get to see your learning process as you go. So I don't waste time on pulling out a whole lot of stuff. If it's just something that's really awful, then I would pull it out. But if it's, because my stitch length was a little bit off here and there, then I would just go ahead and leave it. Now, the thing with the stippling, there are different styles of stippling as well. If you're just trying to do meandering, think of stippling as like tops of Ys, where you're just constantly making these little Y loopy things, and then you just go all over. And then it just depends on the size of that. It starts to become micro stippling. You can do it very large, and a bed-size quilt or a t-shirt quilt doesn't take long at all. So there's even some things that you can do with stippling that can help. Oops. And then I just went back over my line. And stippling, you don't want to go over your line, but if you do, that's okay too. And now my top thread just broke. So let me fix that. And like I said, I haven't machine quilted on a domestic machine in years now. So I like to feel my threads. So I take my gloves off when I do particular things. Oops. Okay. So let me just show you what I got. I was just trying to show some smaller stippling, but it's a little different when I'm actually quilting by myself and when I got people I know are watching as well. So we're going to put this back under. And so curving is a good way to start on your practice piece because you'll know if your tensions are right as far as how fast you're quilting to how fast you're moving your hands. And then from there, you can go into some straight lines just to do some practice. Oops. Okay, I'm having difficulty with thread breaking. Let me check my bobbin. Yeah, I see black thread in my bobbin. So it's got black thread caught in there. So it's a trial and error. You have to, stay with it. Give yourself some minutes to play. Let me cut some of these tails off. Okay. I gotta thread it again. And let's hope it works. I'm pulling up my bobbin thread again. I don't know why my top thread keeps coming out so far. Can stitch in place a few stitches. Pull my threads to the other side. Okay, let me clip those. Okay. So a lot of times when we're doing lines on our sewing machine, we have to turn the machine. But on Freemotion, you can just take your machine and start stitching sideways. So notice I have not turned my quilt, but I'm stitching in a straight line. So I'll go ahead and stop this just so you can see that on the screen. So if I was using my feet dogs up, then I would have had to turn my quilt top. But with the Freemotion, you don't have to do that. Now I'm looking at the back. When I first started, I had that first break, I had started out with pretty decent tension up here. And then when that thread broke, I didn't know one was in my bobbin, so it's a little bit bad right there. And then this is from the straight line stitching right there. So I can see where my black is hitting a little bit on the back a little too much. So then I want to either adjust my hand speed or my presser. You know, my speed. I want to adjust either my speed control or my hand movement for that. Okay. So some things that for beginner Freemotion quilters, I'm just going to go into another area. I'm going to remove a pin because I'm just going over there. And I have my container here to put my pins in. So the first thing that I would say to learn would be the actual meandering. You practice that, you can use that on a lot of quilts. It's always appropriate. The next thing that can be appropriate for all quilts is loops. So loops are just meandering with the swirl, and then you go both ways, back around. Okay, so I'm going to do that on this next area. I want to lock my stitches in. 2 or 3 stitches in place is sufficient. And then I can now go ahead and start meandering. And again, this is another one of those stitches that, depending on what it is that you're doing, you can make them larger or smaller. Okay, I'm having difficulty again with my thread breaking, it seems like. Yes, my thread just broke again. And I don't know if that's because I'm using bobbin line with this particular thread. I'm using more of an industrial spool of thread today. So I may need to change. I was trying to get something big so that you could see it, see the dark thread color. But I want to make sure there isn't anything in the bobbin this time. Let me take my gloves off. I can't feel it. And that's where maybe using the Steady Betty may be better, or using any of those quilting tools that I showed you earlier with the framings. Trying to roll my bobbin thread back up. Let me change to a different thread. I'm just going to go to a regular spool of thread and put it on my actual machine. This is Masterpiece thread. This is what I normally piece with. I think that thread that I have must be thick, because this Masterpiece feels very thin compared to that. So I think it was my thread. I don't see anything in the description in the chat box, so I'm not sure if anyone is in the chat box at this point, if I'm really live or not. I did this last week and I wasn't live, so I'm praying that I am actually live. Okay. So now I'm going to try to use the Steady Betty contraption I have here. Pull up that bobbin thread again. That's the one thing I think beginners forget to do, is to pull up the bobbin thread. So I want to keep mentioning that. So you have to find where these are more comfortable for you. But they only go so far. I think these might be a size. Trying to see if there's a size on them. I don't see a size on them. I would like to have them lower on my finger, but I'm going to have to either hold on to them or put them further back. So this is not very comfortable for me right now. I do feel like I'm machine quilting a little better with this thread. I think the other thread was just too thick. So if you're having difficulty, try some different thread as well. So once you move and you're kind of out of the range of where your hands are right around the needle, you need to adjust your hand position. Okay, so we're just going to break this thread here. And I want to look at the back for the tension difference since I've changed threads. It did make a big difference. I think my machine was struggling with a thick thread. I didn't realize it was that thick. So now I need to either speed up my hands with this thread. It's not bad, but it's not perfect either. I put in 2 different threads. If this was matching thread, it wouldn't be as noticeable. And this is just the front with some of the loops. So this is where I had the thick thread here. And this is the regular thread that I normally piece with, the masterpiece thread. Some other things for machine quilting is loops can always be used for traveling purposes, but then you can also use it for, you can put hearts, stars, leaves, or anything like that around a loop as well. So let's just start a line here. Whenever you come to a point, you do want to stop your machine so that you actually get the point. And then I'm at another pin here. I just want to do one more of these heart things and then I'll take it off. Okay, so I did the regular loops up here at the top. And then you can also add like stars into your loops as well as hearts. And let me just get a pen. I'll just draw on here. Don't know if you're going to be able to see it. See if I can make a makeshift board here. Okay. So for regular meandering, let's see if I can, hoping that you can see better with that light off overhead. For regular meandering, I would just, regular loops. I just go around in the loops. And then say I want to hit a star right here. I go up and back down. I make like a V. Then I want to go diagonally to the side, come straight across, and it's not going to be perfect because I'm upside down, and then back down to my starting point. And then I come out with the more loops. Up, down, across, over, down. And then I keep going. And again, I'm upside down. So if I'm doing loopies and I want to put a heart somewhere, so I go down from my heart, go around, come back up, hit it, and then loop out. And I hope you can see that. So those are drawn on. Some other things, let's see. I like a lot of spirals and curls, so maybe I'll just do some stuff here so you can see it. And maybe get a thicker marker. Try a Sharpie marker. See if that gets a little thicker. Okay, so I like to do a lot of spirals and curls. So for spirals, I would come in, go around, come back out. And then I would just do that all over my quilt. And I don't think this one is dark enough. So let me try something else. This is really trial and error. Try a darker, heavier tip. Okay, so now we got a fat marker. So I'm just going to go back over here and do this spiral again. With the spiral, you're just sewing around. You go in, work your way back out. Work in, work your way back out. Work in, work your way back out. Work in, work your way back out. And so you're just doing that continuously all over. And you don't really need any other spacers. You can actually put this spiral in and out over an entire quilt. And that was between the loops, the spirals, meandering, and stars. That was all that I did for years with machine quilting. Because if I use one of my friend's long arm machines every now and then, I didn't have time to learn a lot of the things that I know now. So I would just stick with the basics so I could get my quilts done. I could quilt maybe 3 quilts a day using my friend's machine, for like an 8-hour period. And that includes the loading time. So that is a very effective all over design. Some other things with spirals is that you can add in pearls. You can even do them where you do a whole row of them. So you can do a spiral, come back around, and then go back the other direction, come back under it to make you go in the opposite direction. And so on. So once you've also done a spiral, you can also do some decorations with that per se. A lot of times I just knew basic stitches, so I just added on to my basic stitches. So here's a curl or a spiral, and then I could go in and out. Until I was filling that space. And then I could come back in that space and enclose it all in. Another thing that I could have done, instead of just closing it off that way, I could have come around and put a little curl around it as well. And then you can still close those off as well. So you can just take very basic design and make it into something else. And I'm not an art person, so anything that I draw, it always comes out better when I actually stitch it. And I'm actually drawing upside down for you all. So there are so many different stitches that you can use. That's your basic stitches that can be a lot of help for you. So if you're scared of doing anything curvy, you can still do straight line stitching where you can go up, oops, up, down, and then, oops, I'm upside down, y'all. Got to bear with me here. So you can even grid out like that, come back on the next row and do the opposite. But you get the gist of what I'm talking about here. You can do a grid with that. And then, of course, you can make these as long or as short as you like. They could be as big as 3 inches. You're just doing an overall texture stitch on your machine so you can do whatever area is comfortable for you to do on your actual home machine. So I can't see any comments. So I'm not sure if anybody have any questions. We only got like 15 more minutes. Oh my goodness, they're all up over here. I don't know why they're not showing up on my laptop, which is what I'm looking at. So let me just do some shout outs real quick. I got Myla from Tennessee, Janice from Texas, Darlene. She said, I spent some time cleaning my room today. Why do I have so much stuff? We're all in that same dilemma. And I hear of Donna Webster saying that she could hear me. I don't know what's going on with the laptop, and then it finally popped over here on my iPad. It wasn't there before either. So I appreciate you guys. Linda Fowler, she's here. She was here last week too. So thank you. Ruth is here. Merry Christmas from Blue Ridge, Georgia. Got Canada. That's Kaylin. She was here. I think she was here last week. Got Donna Weber. And then they're telling me that it's working, which of course I couldn't see. Somebody got Marilyn Cooper from Tennessee. Roxanne telling me that it's working correctly. Gloria, she's in Ontario. Thank you so much for watching. I can't watch the screen, but I do want to give out my shout outs because I appreciate you all tuning in. Got Doris Dale from Tennessee. Aledra Curry from Louisiana. Okay, Claudette Bettis. She was I can't remember if she was here. I've been talking with her on Facebook some, so I'm not sure if she was here last week. But you're here tonight. Thank you so much. She's from California. Hazel from UK. Ruth, where is your husband going tomorrow? I'm just now getting to your comments. I don't know why they don't just automatically pop up like they should. They're not. Got Fanny. She's saying hello. Hi, Fanny. Rosemary from Atlanta. Stormy in North Carolina. Hazel. Got Linda Griffin. Mrs. J.A. Coleman. Hi, Miss J. Got Wanda from Virginia. Stormy is laughing at me. I would laugh at me too. I'm like, why are they not talking to me? And I should know better. But it's like I don't see anything on my main computer, and it's got the chat bar over there, but nothing is coming up. It is very strange. Got Kathy from Idaho. Ruth is saying something, but you need to change them too. I do one per quilt or sewing project. Well, I say so far I have done only small projects. I'm thinking she's talking about the needles. I must have missed something from up above. Yes, you do need to change your needles. Got Kathy Hopkins, who came in a little late today. She came in at 7:30. Kathy Cornstalk. So do you have any questions for me with the machine quilting? I can answer any questions now that I can see your comments. Okay, and Kathy was letting me know that the bottom thread is, she was having question marks about the bottom thread looking better. I think it was a lot lighter here than it was over here. And I'm using black and white thread, which we would never use when we machine quilt. So it is a little bit darker over on this side. I think it's a little bit lighter over here where the pin dots are coming through. So that's something that I would have to play with. And again, I stopped using my Singer because it crashed on me. So that could be a problem. I don't think that they have it adjusted correctly. So that could be part of the problem as well. But that's why I stopped doing machine quilting at home, because this machine died out on me. I was working on a rag quilt and it was just too thick. That was before I got my Singer. That's before I got my Singer heavy duty machine, and it kept working for a while, and then it just all of a sudden just started giving me trouble, so I just stopped using it. So Stormy says she's going to try those spirals. Yeah, I think they're talking about needle sizes in the comment section. I do use a size 14 needle when I'm quilting. I will piece with a size 12 needle. Hi, Jennifer. She's saying, yay, you found us. I don't know what is going on. Okay. So we got Aaron. Aaron is here, not he, she's here. Got Mary Schroeder and Hartford Barb. She said, I just found this chat, and she's from California. Darlene is asking, her question is, do I normally use the same thread in my bobbin as opposed to the top thread? I normally use the same color. Sometimes, like I said, on these domestic machines, when they got the very small bobbins, I'll use bottom line thread on the bottom, and then I will adjust for my tension or my hand movement for the top thread, which I normally use just a regular cotton thread. So for some reason, this thread here, I don't know, it's a, let me see what size it says on the cone. I just pulled the cone out of my long arm area, didn't really pay attention to it. It's not my regular thread. I was just trying to use it up. Take my glasses off so I can see up close. It's a Tex 40 thread. But then on the other side, it says something about being 50. So, but it says Tex 40 on one side, and my thread that I'm using now is 50. So there is no way that this is 50 thread as thick as it is. It is very thick. And I don't know if it's showing up on camera or not, but that's pretty thick thread. And let me show you what I'm currently using. This is what I'm currently using. This is Masterpiece, which is what I normally quilt with, piece with. So this thread is, I can't even hardly see it on the screen, so it already makes a difference to me. But it's pretty thick. I just think I pulled the wrong spool of thread, so I need to make some additional adjustments for the thread. Yes, I did. I do drop the feed dogs, and I did forget to talk about that. Kathy, she's asking about the feed dogs. My feed dogs depends on your machine. I have my feed dog button that's on this side. I know you can't see, but you actually push the button to pull it up and down. Now, on some older machines, they don't have for you to drop the feed dogs. They may have a cover that you use, and you have little holes that the cover sits in on your machine. Some people don't have those anymore. If you don't have those, you can just cover it with some Post-it note, or anything that you can just tape down temporarily to cover the feet so they don't catch and drag your fabric. Although I have been known when I first started to use my feed dogs up because I had more control as well. So it's just a personal choice, and then also the machine. Some machines like that and some doesn't. Thank you, Catherine Hill. She's telling me great job. I was referring to the spiral design you showed us. It helped me greatly to see you draw it. Okay, that was Stormy Long. She's saying that this spiral design, I think I started with the spiral here in the center for those that just came in. I just drew it here, and then I was showing over here where you can take a spiral and make it into something else. You can actually enlarge something that's very similar. And then Stormy says she always gets stuck as to which way to travel or what to do next. Now, on the home sewing machine, it's a lot. You have a lot more control over where you're going, to me, than I do on a long arm, because the long arm sews so fast, and it's like I have to constantly keep moving it or thinking about where I'm going. On the home machine, I can just stop my hands and feet automatically. On a long arm, it just don't seem like it's as natural for me to hit the button to stop. And it's a weird thing, but you have to almost sew on both of them to know. But you always have to have a plan of where you're going. And that was one of the reasons why I cut the opening inside of my flat foot, because I couldn't see where I was going with the Singer Freemotion foot. And that just takes some practice too. And then with meandering, you can always meander yourself back out. You can go over your stitching line. Nobody will see it if you stitch as close as you can to it. Nobody is perfect. So in the scheme of things, it'll be okay as well. So you can just stitch yourself back out of something. Wanda wants to know, she says it's off topic. She says, but how do I sign up for the retreat? I would love to attend, but haven't committed yet. How you sign up for the retreat is the information is actually in my TeaQuilts Facebook group. So the information is there. You can actually go to the file section and download the files for the retreat. I have one file that has the information page as well as the registration form. If you don't want to join a group or don't have a Facebook account, I prefer everybody going over to Facebook. But if you don't have a Facebook account, you can email me at teaquilts@teaquilts.com and put Missouri Star Quilt Company retreat in the subject so that it doesn't go to spam, and then I will send you back the files as well. And then Darlene wants to know, when do I use a walking foot? The walking foot was one of those things that for me did not work very well on my Singer sewing machine, and I hardly ever used it. I got more puckers when I used that thing, and I think it was just the Singer brand, and I honestly have not tried it on any of my baby locks, because once I just started doing free motion, I just didn't use it at all. So a lot of people, I will tell you what people do use the walking foot for that are around me. They use it when they put their bindings on because it keeps things from stretching out. And I have a few people that use it for piecing. I just didn't like that one at all. It didn't do anything strange while I was piecing. It was just that it was so bulky that I couldn't see very well. And that again was the Singer brand. And I'm not sure if I got it in here or if it's in the other room. But it's just so bulky. This is the Singer brand of my walking foot. And if I was trying to stitch a 1/4 of an inch and have my needle in the 1/4 of an inch area, I just couldn't see very well in there, and I didn't like it. So I never used it for piecing, but for some reason, I don't know, it seemed like it worked very well here when I moved the arm up and down, but when I got on my machine, I always got puckers when I was doing like grid quilting, and so I just stopped using it. Okay, so I think I have gone through most of the comments and questions. If I missed you, just pop it in there again and I'll mention you if I didn't give somebody a shout out. And again, I'm so sorry about the chat thing just popping up very late, and it came up on my iPad. It has never come up on, and I see the group chat. I see where I put in we will start at 7, but things just are not working on my devices the same. So I got Ruth. She's saying she used hers for echo quilting and in the ditch. I couldn't make it work for anything else though, and I think she's talking about that walking foot. So that is it. It is 8 p.m. I'll wait and see if anybody else have any questions. Otherwise, I'll just chat here for a minute and then we'll sign off. But I appreciate you all taking your time to come and sew with me, to do this sewing chat. I hope you got to do some sewing while you were online as well. It's a great time to do some handwork. And I don't see where any more comments are coming in. I got people that are thanking Ruth. She's been helping people in the comment field with needles and all of that. So I appreciate your help, Ruth. That was really nice of you. But I think that's it. So we're just going to go ahead and end here. I'm not sure. I'm not going to commit to doing a live viewing next week. Maybe I'll just do a pop-up view or something because I'm not sure how my week is going to go with me prepping for Christmas. But I will see you all for sure in January, and we're going to work on the disappearing 9-patch quilt top. And I'll probably post something before about how to make your 9-patch blocks so that they'll already be made for the live viewing. And Stormy is just asking if these are going to be live videos. I going to be weekly live videos. I do plan to do weekly live videos, but since it's coming up on Christmas and New Year's, I'm not sure if I want to commit to doing them the next 2 weeks, but we'll see. I might do a pop-up. And if I do a pop-up, I'll try to do it at Wednesday at 7, but I won't make any actual plan of a topic. Somebody asked, what batting do I use? I mostly use 100% cotton batting. I like warm and natural batting, although I have been noticing from the time I first started using it in 1994 that it has gotten thinner over the years. So I like that, and I also like Quilter's Dream request batting. Then I got Ruth saying she won't be back until next year because she's got church specials, and that's exactly what I was thinking that was going to happen. So that is it from the comment field. I'll see you all next time, and you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye.